So I've kind of had this idea for a while to do a vlog in bed in like a cozy, not quite ASMR, but like a cozy, low key type of vibe vlog in bed. And I think mostly that idea comes from me being too lazy to make my room look presentable and come up with a good vlogging background. But it also partially comes from if I put too much pressure on myself for the way that I make these videos, then I will literally never make one ever again. So, anyway, hello. It's been a while since I made a video like this. I put out my 1 year on testosterone video in November, but that wasn't really in the format of the other vlogs that I used to make when I had a car, back when I had a car. And I think part of the reason that I stopped doing that is because I don't have a car to film in anymore. And it was really easy to just put my camera up on my dashboard and start filming because I was totally alone in my car. But I have a roommate. And so now not having a car, setting my camera up in my bedroom feels kind of weird. And talking to a camera, I don't know, it just feels weird. So I haven't done it for that reason. The other reason that I haven't been making vlogs is because I stopped going to the gym. I stopped going to the gym almost a year ago. I think it's been like 8 or 9 months since I went to the gym last. And I have been pretty hard on myself about that. And especially the past couple of months, I've been like, I was like, okay, I'll get back in the gym after the holidays. And then I was like, well, I should wait until the initial rush of New Year's resolution people is over. And then it was February, and then I was like, well, I should wait until, I don't know. I think I got E. coli in February. Wait, when did I get E. coli? Anyway, I did get E. coli sometime early this year, and that took me out for about a week, and then I didn't get to work for another like 2 weeks after that. So it was like 3 weeks in total that I didn't work. But anyway, while my body was kind of healing, even once I started feeling better, I was like, okay, like kind of once I'm over this thing, then I'll start going to the gym again. Anyway, and then the E. coli came and went, and then the first of the month came and went, and now it's almost April, and I have run out of excuses, but I still haven't gone back to the gym. And I think the thing is that going back is so intimidating. It feels like such a big thing because of the height of my gym deal. I was going 6 days a week, which is crazy and not sustainable. And it wasn't sustainable, and which is why I ended up cutting back to 3 days a week. So it's really intimidating to get back into gymming when that was sort of where I was at. And it also feels now like I don't know what I'm doing so much, and I don't have anybody to hold me accountable. And going into that gym feeling like a newbie all over again is really intimidating and really scary. So I found a lot of reasons to not go. And it's hard because the first time I started going to the gym, I had a partner who knew about lifting and who taught me pretty much everything about lifting, and they were the one that encouraged me to start going. And so that makes it a little bit easier to do when you have somebody going with you and you're like, hey, let's go on this day, and you go together. But when it's only you holding yourself accountable, that's hard to do. Okay, in case you didn't know, that's not easy to do. I'm trying so hard not to breathe onto this microphone, and I know that I'm failing, and I am sorry for that. I stopped going to the gym, I believe, June of last year, and the reason for that is that I went through a breakup, and I know that for a lot of people, going through a breakup means starting going to the gym, but for me, I just felt like I was so overwhelmed with everything that happened as a result of the breakup, and I don't know. I think also partially it just became such a chore, and I was doing it by myself because, well, my partner already at the time wasn't really going with me to the gym as much anymore, but I mean, it was something that we used to do together, so that also made it hard. And yeah, I think I would just breathe directly onto the mic after saying that I was going to try not to do that. Anyway, I think there were a lot of factors, but it's coming up on a year of me not going to the gym. So anyway, now that I've rambled about that for 5 minutes, there's a lot of other stuff that's new in my life since the last time I made a vlog. I should have looked at my YouTube before I started filming this because I actually don't know when the last time is that I filmed a video. I genuinely don't know. I think I was still with my ex when I posted my last video on here. What has changed in my life since last summer? I moved. I'm in a different apartment now than I was. I was living with this older lady that I met online. Her boyfriend moved in with her. Since I moved out, I still am mutuals with her on TikTok and Instagram. She looks like she's doing very well. She's very happy. I met a fellow queer person online, and we found an apartment together, and now we're living together. They're very nice. We get along very well. We communicate with each other very well, so that's great. But I'm living in a much more preferable location. That's a lot closer to my work and closer to my friends and everything. My cat moved out. Oh, my cat moved out. You guys, it's so horrible. He was not happy here. He's the whole reason I had to move out of my last place is because he was tormenting my roommate's cats. And then we moved in here, and I finally found somebody who doesn't have any other pets so that I can move him in here, but he was miserable. I mean, this place is a shoebox. It's so small. So he was miserable here. And so I looked at all of my options. I really didn't know what the hell I was going to do. And then my grandma came to the rescue, and she's been keeping him at her house. They have another cat, but they have been figuring out how to keep them separate. That's been a whole thing. I'll spare you all the details. But anyway, he's not living here anymore. And that's nice for some reasons. Like, obviously he was really unhappy here. And now at my grandma's, he has a big yard that he can walk around in, and he has a lot of space in the house. My grandparents are both retired, so there's always someone there giving him attention. So those are the positives for him. For me, I have so much more freedom. I mean, an amount of freedom that I didn't even know I was missing out on. I'm saving money. Uh, it's quiet in my room, which was really the big reason I had to get rid of him in the first place, because he was screaming all the time because he was so bored in here. Mostly it's the freedom, like not having to come back here for any amount of time, or like, you know what I mean? Like I can go do whatever I want to do and do whatever I need to do and not worry about my animal being here alone for too long. I can have people over and it's not so much of an issue, but people love my cat and I love my cat, and it's very hard to not have him here. It's very lonely. I miss him all the time. When I go to see him at my grandma's, he acts like he doesn't know me. So, whatever. He acts like a grumpy teenager. Uh, I'm sure that he's mad at me, but I did what I had to do. So that's another big change in my life. I have a new therapist. They're incredible. I'm on a bunch of new meds, a bunch that are actually really helping me. Mentally, I think I'm doing pretty well. I do want to get back into the gym. I guess I just kind of wanted to film a life update. Can I do that? Hey, is that allowed? Can I film a life update? I watched a video of mine recently, an older one. I don't remember how old it was, but in it, I talk about this sort of lingering feeling of lack of closure with situationships or friendships that ended unexpectedly or without an actual breakup. I think when you're in a happy relationship and when you surround yourself with positive friends, when you're in a lot of happy relationships, romantic or otherwise, that you tend to not think about those things so much, because I am very happy in my current relationship and with my current friendships, and I don't think about the people that are no longer in my life anymore, or at least I don't think about them so much. But something that I said in that video that I've kind of been thinking about is that I have to learn to be okay with the idea that the people who wronged me might be happy. The people that did me wrong, the people that hurt me, might not be miserable. and might never be miserable. They might lead very happy lives forever, and I have to learn to be okay with that. And I think the ultimate state of healing is like not even caring about that. Not necessarily wishing them well or not necessarily being happy for them, but just being like neutral and being like, them being happy has nothing to do with me. And I've kind of been thinking about that because I think I do have a tendency to wish ill on people who did me wrong, which is not healthy, really. And I think seeing people that did me wrong living happy lives, or seeing what they allow people to see on social media and such, I think that I know that that really frustrates and upsets me for some reason. And so seeing me say that, like, well, I have to learn to be okay with the idea that the people who did me wrong might not be miserable. I don't know. I've just been thinking about that a lot lately, and I was thinking about it today, and so I kind of wanted to, I don't know. That's kind of what inspired me to finally film this video that I've been thinking about for 2 weeks-ish. I'm getting lightheaded from not breathing enough. Hang on. It's just interesting to think about because I have this philosophy that I don't believe there are bad people. I don't believe in the idea of a bad person inherently. I think that all of it is so subjective that, you can't really define somebody as a bad human, you know? And obviously, I think when I say that, a lot of people go to extreme examples, right? Like Hitler or whatever. But those are outliers, and I'm talking about like the average everyday person. I think on average, for 99% of people, I do not think there are good people and bad people. Because even people that have really, really hurt you and done really, really horrible things, from somebody else's perspective, that might be a really good person. That might be a person that helped them through something they wouldn't have gotten through otherwise. I don't think that we can really put people into categories of good people and bad people. I think there are people who make bad choices and do bad things, and maybe even people who do a lot of bad things. But I don't think that there are good people and bad people. And I think that for most of us, we have a tendency to categorize people, and we have a tendency to do it very quickly and very harshly, at least from my experience. A lot of people I know tend to have a hard time being forgiving or seeing things in a gray area, in a more neutral area, where somebody could do a really, really bad thing and that person might not be a bad person. But I think a lot of us tend to be like, you did a bad thing, you're a bad person. You're in the bad person box now. And it's like impossible for you to get out of that bad person box, or really, really hard at least. And I think that obviously there are some things that really can't and shouldn't be forgiven. But again, like for the average person, my point is just that even though I have this philosophy that there are no good people and bad people, I am still guilty of putting people in boxes. I'm still guilty of the black and white thinking. I'm very guilty of it, in fact. And so I think I have this tendency to, if somebody has done me wrong and maybe we were connected or we had a relationship during this period of their life where they were not their best self, even though my brain's not going, they're a bad person, it is putting them in this, bad category. And then when I see them doing well, or I see them happy, I'm like, fuck this person for doing well and for being happy. Or, the idea that they could change feels hard to accept. Like, I'm like, this person will be this way forever. And for a lot of people, I think change doesn't happen in significant ways, because I think a lot of people have a hard time admitting what their flaws really are and what really needs to be worked on and what needs to be healed. But the fact of the matter is, once somebody's no longer in your life, you actually have no idea. You have no idea what that person is doing. You have no idea what work they're doing. You have no idea if they're out there getting better somewhere. So, all is to say, that sort of concept and that thought has really stuck with me since I watched that video recently, a few days ago or a few weeks ago. That idea of these people that this could apply to anybody. somebody who did you wrong or who you perceived as doing you wrong or betraying you or whatever, that person might be really happy. They might find happiness and they might be happy forever. And if you constantly torture yourself with this idea that they don't deserve that happiness or that it's not fair or whatever, the only person that you're making miserable is yourself. And then they get to go and be happy and you have to live miserable. And that's not fair. That's the real thing that's not fair. You're not being fair to yourself because you're not allowing yourself that growth and that healing that you deserve, which involves moving on from any attachment you have to the outcome of that person's life because it no longer has to do with you. It no longer has anything to do with you. So all that you can do is focus on your own life and your own healing and move on and get better and grow and heal and become the person that you want to be so that you don't care if they're doing well or not. Maybe karma will get them, maybe it won't. That's not your job to keep tabs on. That's not your job to get upset about or to care about. What is your job is to focus on your own karma and focus on treating the people in your life right now the way they deserve to be treated, including yourself. And not getting hung up on this idea of, this is a bad person, they deserve to be punished. And I do think that part of that comes from autism because, I'm saying you need to do this, but I'm also obviously talking about myself. I think part of that comes from my autism, that sort of feeling of needing justice, hating injustice, unfairness. And I think there is something noble about that in some circumstances. But for the most part, I think it's really important if you're going to live happily as an autistic person to learn to let go of that idea of justice and injustice, or at least to relinquish your tight hold on it and to kind of understand that sometimes there is injustice in the world and that doesn't necessarily have to affect you negatively. All of this that I'm saying, like, there are extreme examples of this that aren't included. I feel annoyed that I even have to say that, but people will intentionally misunderstand you on the internet. So yeah, anyway, just a lot of thoughts recently about that and trying to remember that if I have this philosophy of not viewing people as good and bad, then hey, that should also include myself. Hey, I'm also not a bad person and I'm capable of growth and change. And whether or not people are willing to stick around and see that, or whether or not people are rooting for me, shouldn't matter. Because I'm rooting for me and I'm working really hard all the time to become better and better and better so that I can continue to foster positive relationships and have a good life, have a good quality of living, stop hating myself and stop being miserable all the time. And I've already made great strides in that area of wanting a better quality of life for myself, and I feel like I still have a long way to go. But the thing is, I am becoming a better version of myself all the time, whether or not people want that for me. And I am on the other side of that for some people, where there are people who I hurt them and they don't want to see me happy. And it probably upsets them when they do see me happy, or when they hear that I'm happy, or whatever. And I think there are some people who use that as fuel to keep going and to keep being happy. And maybe that works for them. But for me, I want to feel neutral toward it. I want to feel neutral toward that the same way that I feel neutral or want to feel neutral toward the people who hurt me being happy. I want to not care because I'm going to keep getting better whether or not people are pissed about it. And I'm going to keep being happy whether or not there are people who don't think I deserve to be happy. Because I'm just a person at the end of the day. I'm just a person who has made good choices and bad choices and has hurt people and has helped people and has hated people and loved people and fought with people and made up with people. And I really tend to focus on a lot of the negative things that I've done, but I also do bring positivity into people's lives. And I have brought positivity into people's lives. And, just because I have also brought negativity into people's lives doesn't mean I'm a negative person. It doesn't mean that I deserve to suffer or that I should just lean into the negativity thing and be that way forever. I really don't think that there are good people and bad people. I really don't think that there are. And I think that every person who might be considered a bad person by the general public, I think all of those people have the capability to change and be better. And it's just about whether or not they're willing to. I mean, all of it comes from abandonment wounds and childhood abuse wounds. I think there are very rarely people in life who do horrible things that were not hurt deeply by somebody that was supposed to be taking care of them, somebody they were supposed to be able to trust. And it's unfortunate that it comes out that way, that it happens that way, because, I mean, I have gone through plenty of neglect and abuse, and I've never, raped or murdered anybody. I don't think that's an excuse for any of that horrible stuff at all. But I do think that it goes back to that. I think that any person who commits an atrocity, it goes back to severe childhood abuse and trauma, or, in teenagers, whatever it may be. And I think that when we acknowledge, and again, this mostly applies to the average person, when we acknowledge that all of our negative traits, and all of our flaws, and all of our anger issues or depression or whatever, when we admit that it all comes from those childhood wounds and we start to treat those, I think treating those genuinely could heal anybody. And I think a lot of people refuse to treat them for whatever reason. They're afraid to confront it. So for me, that looked like a lot of years of therapy surrounding my family trauma and my childhood trauma and my parental trauma. And I don't consider that to be completely healed or completely done with, and I don't think it ever will be. But I have learned to accept the things that I cannot change a lot more. And I have learned to stop harboring so much anger and so much resentment. And a big part of it is not constantly mulling over or spinning over everything that happened to me in my brain and the anger and the injustice that comes with it. Because the only person I'm hurting by doing that is myself. So learning how to just be like, yep, that's what happened. That happened. And it was unfair. But all we can work with is the after. I can't change the before. I can't change what happened. All I can work with now is the person that I am now. My happiness does not hinge on whether or not people think I deserve it. It doesn't hinge on whether or not the people who hurt me are happy. My happiness is entirely in my own hands and entirely belongs to me. And I am the only person who earns it, the only person who can earn it. And I deserve to feel it just as much as anybody else does. And I genuinely believe that everybody deserves to feel happiness, real happiness, that just can't come without addressing those childhood wounds. So, anyway, that was a lot. I didn't even know I was thinking about all that stuff till I started talking about it, to be honest. I do want to start going back to the gym. If you've watched this much and you go to the gym, let me know if you have any tips for getting back into it, because I want to do it. And I remember how good it made me feel, but I just have this roadblock of getting started. So yeah, I'll do a little testosterone update just because I used to do those in these videos. Nothing crazy. It's been, let's see, if it's almost April, November, December, January, February, March, April. Wow, so it's almost been a year and a half. It's pretty close to a year and a half. That's crazy. Wow. Well, my 5 months since my last video update is nothing really. I think my face shape is pretty noticeably different. My acne has started to clear up quite a bit. It looks really good in this lighting. It does not look this good in real life, but it does look a lot better than it did, because it was really bad for a while. It was really bad. I didn't know when I started testosterone that for a lot of trans people, or trans mask people, when you start it, your face gets really puffy and kind of fat. And so I didn't realize that I was gaining weight in my face from the testosterone. But yeah, so my face got really round for a while, and now it's a lot more, you can kind of see a lot more sharp in the jawline area. I still don't pass in public, unfortunately. but I'm on a really low dose of testosterone, so that might not happen for a while. I keep feeling like it's never going to happen, but then telling myself, like, it's going to happen eventually. It is going to happen eventually, hopefully. And hopefully I'll be happy with that and feel good about that. I also do feel like I'm losing hair. It looks worse probably than it actually is right now because my roots are growing in and I have dark hair right now. But I have been feeling like my hairline isn't starting to recede, and that could just be me psyching myself out because my dad's side of the family, they all have the like widow's peak. All the men have the widow's peak that goes back. So I could be psyching myself out. I don't know. I'm really working on, I think one of my big goals right now is to work on not caring so much about outer beauty because that does go away with time. And I consider myself attractive, but I'm not going to be attractive forever necessarily. I am going to get older and, beauty fades. So I want to get less attached to this idea that, I have to be super attractive or that it matters so much what I look like because I think that also translates into the way that I view other people. And then that translates into the way that I treat other people. And I don't want that. So, anyway, I'm trying not to be upset about my hairline potentially receding, but it's tough. It's hard. Other than that, no crazy updates. Um, yeah, that's pretty much all of my thoughts for the night. I enjoyed filming this. I'm actually looking forward to editing it, so that's cool because usually that's the most annoying part. But yeah, thank you for watching. If you got this far, I really hope this tiny mic has decent audio. I am getting super lightheaded from trying not to breathe on it. Maybe I'll film another one of these soon. Maybe I won't. But either way, yeah, thank you for watching. My Instagram is queer.edge, I believe. My TikTok is queer_edge. Uh, I don't really post on TikTok much anymore. Whatever. But yeah. So I'm gonna go now. Bye.